Hello and welcome to Macro Mondays here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is February 10th, 2025. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin as always here on the daily to start, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at the weekly. We will follow that with follow up with where we left off on Friday, obviously. Bitcoin still closing above $96,000. That's what we were looking for it to kind of remain in range to try and set a low. And the criteria hasn't changed that much in terms of setting a low. It's still a daily downtrend. So if we're looking at the chart here, we've got lower low swings, equal low closes here, lower high to lower low that is not set on a close yet. Now, yesterday did confirm the swing low, but it did not set a closing low just yet. So we're still waiting on that to come in. And where would that be? Well, you're going to get a few different interpretations of this. Some will say like, okay, above the body of the Wednesday candle from the 5th here, which would be the open. Then the low is set. Some indicators might even indicate that. I would still be sticking with closes above now where the basis band of the Bollinger Bands is coming in at about 100,235. So not just about, but exactly. That is right around where the basis band is. Back above there, I would look for this low to be confirmed on a close. Most indicators will show it that way as well. And I'd be looking for Bitcoin to trade up, somewhere into the 101 to 104 area by where this upper first standard deviation is. And from here, in order to break this downtrend here, we need to see closes above 106,500. That is now where the upper second standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands is up here to break the downtrend. From there, I would want to see higher low structure, wherever it puts in a higher low, equal low structure as it relates to this low, if this low is set here on a close. Otherwise, any closes below $96,000, I would look for Bitcoin to continue to test down towards the lower second standard deviation, just shy of $94,000. If Bitcoin turns red on the daily here, this will be around 93.5. Why is that significant? We'll flip to the weekly chart here. It's significant because that 93.5 level is the close open here. 93,563 right there. There's a close open higher low on the weekly. Of course, we do have a lower high close with a higher high swing. So this is indecision. This is compression. It's indicating that this could just be a deviation on the close open because we did reach for higher highs, but it did get rejected and closed below the close open over here at that 104,500 area. With the close open here coming in at 102,500 on the weekly, that has been confirmed now. I still would want to see closes below at minimum 94.5, and then of course a breakdown below 93.5 to get really excited if I was bearish. But you can see that the basis band of the Bollinger Bands is coming in here now at around $89,000, just shy of it at this particular moment at 88,995. Well, that's interesting because $89,000 is the wick low over here from the week of the 13th. So this is the January 13th weekly as we moved into the 20th there. So actually kind of setting this higher low structure on that January 13th weekly candle. And to be quite honest, we see the compression already on like the 5-day, which closed with the weekly. And it's getting, it's went from expansion to compression. And you see where the lower first is of the Bollinger Bands here, lining right up with where the weekly higher low close open is coming in at 93.5. So we have confluence there. We even have the lower second standard deviation coming in just above the $89,000 low here. And that is at 89,788. So nearly, $90,000 there. If Bitcoin were to drop that area on a close on the 5-day, it would still need to meet the criteria of closing below $89,000 over here to be searching lower on expansion. Likely for if it was to do that, by the way, on a 5-day with this kind of compression to expansion going on, it would either have to deviate in the mid $80,000 region, or it's going to start trying to go in for a retest of the prior structure over here on the high side. 75 and under down to 70, likely the targets for that if that were to occur. To the upside on the 5-day, upper first standard deviation at 101,600. We'll take a look at the daily support and resistance areas of interest in just a moment here and kind of relate that to what we're seeing. But let's get the numbers out of the way here. To the upside, we need to see the 5-day closing above the upper second. This would be the early indicator. 4 days to go. We'll find out kind of, where this 5-day closes, whether it continues with compression, closes inside of the bands here in a tighter range, or if it tries to go for the initial expansion either to the upside or downside, well before the weekly close this week. So we'll be using the 5-day to kind of give us a clue as to what the weekly might look at, what we might be looking for rather on the weekly as we're looking at it towards the end of the week is what I meant to say. Any closes above the upper second would put Bitcoin, that's 105,500, would put Bitcoin on, closes higher than the closing highs currently. And if you look here, we still have on the 5-day still uptrending structure, unlike the weekly that looks a little indecisive with that lower high close but higher high swing. We're getting a little bit better picture here on the 5-day with the nice tight compression here, with the higher low, higher high structure on a swing and a close. So this would actually start to look pretty damn bullish if Bitcoin were to close back above 105,500. The next targets would be, of course, the highs, right? Up to that 109, 360, I'd say 110. Very easy trip there where the upper third is starting to come in at 109,500. If this candle continues up, for instance, in this current 5-day session, then I would look for that to update to around 110. So that was one of the initial targets that we've been talking about above the highs. Let's go ahead and relate this back to the weekly. So let's get this done. We'll keep this one on here, this 93.5, that weekly higher low close, just for a little while here. And let's go ahead and turn on our local support and resistance areas of interest. And you'll see that I am calling out here the candle body open from the 5th, which was Wednesday, February 5th, as you'll likely see a lot of indicators throw the closing low off of this structure here and a higher low swing. Even though it'd be a lower low close, it would be a higher low swing as it relates to $89,000 wick over here. And honestly, I need to see closes above that 100,235 to really get excited about this actually testing up into the 101 to 104 yellow zone up here. Anywhere above there and the 1272 from the $69,000 to $15,500 per cycle high to bear market low. This is the fib extension, 27.2% above that $69,000 high, coming in right around where we saw the December 5th candle coming in. Go ahead and explain all the fifths, November 5th, December 5th. Where is January 5th was that also kind of a nasty candle? No, that was just a kind of a little bit of an indecisive candle and then up into resistance before dumping off. But in this case, we would be looking, 101 essentially to 104 up here. Anywhere above that upper first, I need to see closes above 104 for continuation. If it hasn't already tried to hit this on a swing, I'd be looking basically 104 to 106 is the next major resistance. And, the double top close open on the daily up here. Anywhere above there, upper second needs to be contended with in that zone just above 106 at 106, 500 to 600. Any closes above there, if we didn't already see 108, we'd be looking for 108 up here and then 110. You can see the upper third just above there at 110 as well, or just shy of 110. So that's kind of what I'd be looking at. But again, I need to see a low set above 100,200 or so. That would be a low set. And as it stands right now, some people are going to call this the lower high to beat at 102,600. But for structure and a close, I need to see closes above the actual lower high swing and close up here. Not something that could be considered part of a swing high to swing low or swing high to swing low in this fashion, from this high at 102,600 to this higher low swing at 94,730. Some people will take that. I don't. I need to see the close come in above 106,500 up here and then look wherever the next high is, right? Because it would be a higher high downtrend break on a close. I'd be looking for wherever the next high is. Then we start hunting for higher low, equal low structure, whether it's on a swing or a close, doesn't really matter. And then kind of go from there. To the downside, like I said, below $96,000 here, we can get swings below, and it's, you can take 95 to 96, right? Because the swing low is here coming in at 94,730. So 95 to 96, drop that on a close. I do think that we're going to test down further towards that weekly at 93.5 and possibly below if we start seeing daily candles close below there. Or even lower term timeframes. I'd start looking for 92 and a retest of $89,000. That wick low inside of a red zone here between 92 and 88,700, where we got the $300 front run there at $89,000. And actually, I'm sorry, this is 91,178. That would be fair game inside of the red zone. Then we'd be looking for $89,000. My apologies, said that wrong, because this was, this was a downtrend back here into this zone already, just below 92. Then we got a trend break to an equal low, lower low, and then a trend break, higher low, higher highs. But the higher high swing with the candle that also set the higher low on a close was not a good look for Bitcoin at that particular moment. Of course, this came back in on inauguration day. It tried to higher low, equal low its way out of here, put in a lower low, then lower high its way down, right? So this is just a consolidation. It's very, very clear on the 5-day. We'll be looking over the next, this 5-day period into the next 5-day period. We're probably looking at like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks for resolution in my estimation. If it goes any longer than that, we're just looking at a long form range forming, and then we're starting to look at two weeks plus, 3 weeks plus at that point. But so far, the criteria is pretty clear. And, emergencies below 88,700 there at the 1.168. Don't confuse that with the 1.618. This is a 16.8% fib level. Anywhere below there, there's our red line at $85,000. We talked about this on some of the higher term timeframes, right? So in this case, this is the first bear candle after the expansion out of the previous range. So this is a significant candle at $85,000. I'd be looking for that on any closes or, even in the lower term time frame. It can hang on to the upper $80,000 region, but I would look for at minimum a swing for that 85. But right now, bulls have a chance here to possibly set a low. I would be aware that tomorrow we have Jerome Powell speaking. He's doing testimony before Congress. And then we have more testimony during that time period. We will have, or during the day. So Tuesday, there's testimony into Wednesday. He's going to be testifying. And then we're going to have inflation numbers come out. Now you can see that the expectation is not anything crazy. 0.1% down, 0.1 point down on core inflation is the forecast. Don't really think it matters as long as it's not too far above. We'll see kind of where things go. Inflation year over year unchanged. Core inflation month over month goes up a point, 0.1 point rather, and then inflation month over month. Core inflation and then inflation rate month over month would go down 0.1 point. Then we start getting into PPI on Thursday, and then Friday we have retail sales. So it's going to be pretty eventful this week in terms of economic data. And I personally, could this be a week in which we see resolution on that 5-day that kind of leads into the weekly? Sure, but it's got to start on this daily. And you really want to be looking for closes above that 100,235. Otherwise, any closes below 96, beware. It's going to be running that 95 and below, possibly into that weekly at 93.5. Anywhere below there, we're back in that red zone down there. And threatening possible resolution on the 5-day to the downside in terms of expansion. Can it still deviate? Yes, as long as it's still above $85,000. It loses that, well, if you're in meme coins, and even some alts, you can bend over and kiss your ass goodbye for a little while. Hope you got dry powder to pick up the pieces there, but otherwise things are in an okay position for Bitcoin right now. What I will say is, to kind of leave things off, is the market, traditional markets are a little indecisive. So Dow, we have Dow in the strong half of the bands. That's good, but it did confirm a lower high on the Friday session into the Monday session, which is trying to hold up. Essentially in equal low territory, just above the basis band, which is again it's a 20 simple. We see compression coming in, so could it spike up? Sure. 45, 6 to 7 or so, it's fair game. If it does start to lose around 44, 150, then we're starting to look down towards where the lower first standard deviation is, right where this high is coming in, somewhere around 43, 350 to 400. Maybe lower. If it starts to drop that area, then we're looking for a gap fill down by this lower second, 42.5 or so. For Dow, that's going to be an interesting one. It did paint a lower high, but I'm not like enamored with it actually picking a direction and doing anything crazy. We have still like this downtrending structure, but it's a consolidation in a range for NASDAQ. And he closes back above the upper first. It's running the Friday high around 21,869. Nice. Any loss of the basis band here, and losing this kind of higher high, lower high kind of a look here, which is a little odd. Actually is a higher high close and a higher high swing here. So if it can hold up here, maybe it can head up and start hitting that 22.1 area at its all-time high. That would look pretty good for NASDAQ and a nice recovery. If tech is going to lead the way, that would probably play well with Bitcoin. Otherwise, it's back down to the bottom side of this range, threatening the 2100 level, or 21,000. I keep saying 2100. My bad. 21,000 to the upside here. We need to see kind of closes back above 21,869. Nice towards that 22,000. Stuck on looking at Bitcoin and everything else. Like Dow is 44,000 is where the close came in. We need to see it holding above 44,150 or so. Otherwise, it's going to test this low, 43,879, possibly down to that lower first at that 43,380. If we're looking at SPY, 600 points, 604 rather, still a downtrend here. Still above the basis though, so it looks fine in this regard. If it does drop it, it will, it gapped up. It's kind of a mess right now. It's a little bit of indecision, but if it does drop the basis around 600 points, expect it to try to work its way back down here towards that 590, 592 area. Otherwise, look up and pay attention to around 607 to 608 up here by this high. If it does start to get above there, especially on closes, we should start looking for 610 and above towards that 612 to 615 by the upper second. I don't usually talk about traditional markets with y'all, but I just wanted to kind of highlight that traditional markets are showing some indecision ahead of some of the economic data, and then of course Powell speaking. If things go well, we'll see price appreciate to the upside. I just watch Bitcoin. It's going to be a good indicator for everything that's going on market wide anyway. Stick to the charts that you are going to be trading. So in this case, while I do trade traditional markets, I'm more focused on crypto and Bitcoin at this particular moment. And there is some opportunity for the bulls here if they're willing to take it. You have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. And I will talk to you again on Wednesday. I do believe I'm going to have a Learn TA with Landy with Peace, Love, Music tomorrow on Deorganized Media. If I believe I do, so keep an eye out on the timeline. That's usually at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. If it's not on, sorry, we'll get back to it though at some point. But keep an eye on the timeline. Other than that, take care. Landy up.